All right, guys. So today, quick question, big topic, I suppose, is we're talking about just how big do we think the Wheel of Time TV series is going to be?
Yeah. Well, uh, are we throwing out adjectives?
Yeah.
Huge, massive, extraordinary,
Epic.
epic. I think Matt, you've got some really good points on this, and for people who don't know about it yet, who are maybe kind of wondering whether they should start to invest some time in this as we lead up to its release date. We just had a really great conversation. We decided to hit record and talk about this because this is cool. This is going to be, I think, bigger than people think or even realize. No one knows about it yet. It's just
Right.
not known.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's interesting because, people are always asking like, hey, well, what are you guys podcasting about now? Because, we did Game of Thrones and we still do, but it's just kind of like most people who just know I podcast and stuff like that, they think, well, Game of Thrones is over. So what are you talking about now? And so one of the things I bring up is Wheel of Time. Like, I don't know what that is. And I think of the same thing where a lot of people who are not fantasy book readers had no idea what Game of Thrones. I did not know what Game of Thrones was until the show came out. And so I'm like, oh, you will like like a year or whenever it comes out, if it comes out within the next year from where we are now, which I think it will come out later this year, just taking a guess. I was like, oh, you will, like a year from now, because I think honestly believe that the Wheel of Time TV show is going to be enormous. I think I easily 100% think it could rival the success, whatever you want to say about the final season, you can of or season or two of Game of Thrones, in terms of like Academy Awards and everything that it did. I think that Wheel of Time has the potential to be even bigger. And one of the reasons I think this is just the easiest one is how you're going to access it is Amazon Prime. And that people own Amazon Prime simply for shipping, right?
Mm-hmm.
People you have like people have Amazon Prime completely independent of the content that you can watch on it. Whereas HBO, you have to get through cable or satellite or buy the service on its own individual accord.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that the numbers for this are going to be bigger. Because I think more people, I think I will pull up the numbers here as we're talking, but I would have to take a guess that there are more people who own Amazon Prime than there are people who have access to HBO in some
Absolutely.
sort of fashion. So just in that alone, I think it will beat. I think it will beat Game of Thrones. The other thing is Jeff Bezos, right? I mean, you got to think about this is the head honcho guy at Amazon. Like HBO is just trying to be, a big, as we want to be the best TV company. Amazon's like, we're trying to be the best like company in the world and like have flying drones
Skynet.
to deliver back. Exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just,
Right.
it's a different mindset. And so that's the person you have at the top of the thing who's going to be pushing this, because they want, I mean, clearly they're spending a lot of money because they want Amazon Prime to be a one stop thing for everything. So it's a total different mindset in that. And then the book series itself, when comparing it to something like Game of Thrones or even the Lord of the Rings movies, that's kind of different because those were movies and it's not a show versus say a show as you have with Game of Thrones. One, these are finished, so people can really dive in. Two, there's a lot of characters. There's a ton of diversity. So there's lots of characters that you can like, and it's less adult compared to Game of Thrones. And that's another thing that kind of holds you back a little bit in that it's not really an ideal show for younger kids or teens even. And so it's more likely that this show will be more teen rating, like PG-13 if I had to give it like that, then I would say maybe an R rating. And so that also then again also opens it up to more people. So I think it is going to be enormous. I think it's going to be the show of this. I honest to God believe it will be the show of the decade, much like like Game of Thrones was probably, if I had to pick one, was the biggest show of the last decade. I didn't know that there was The Walking Dead and Breaking Bad and stuff, but if you just look at Academy Awards, it's not even close because Game of Thrones has the record. Right. But I think I think Wheel of Time could be as big. It could be as big as a Breaking Bad or a Walking Dead or Game of Thrones.
I think you actually bring up a really interesting point, and that's the fact that there are more streaming services now in the ball game, right? And we talk about Walking Dead, Breaking Bad, and all these shows. What was show of the decade? Probably Game of Thrones. I mean, I feel like that's a pretty safe bet. I think the playing field has expanded, and I think there's room for multiple shows to be king. Similar to Stranger Things right now and The Mandalorian. Like, these are shows that people are really into. Even Netflix has some, like The Crown is considered to be an amazing show to a lot of people. I think there are a lot of positions to be, if not even just the best, just a top show and make a boatload of money. And when you have the merchandising capabilities that Amazon Prime brings with Wheel of Time, and the fact that at the core of every show, characters matter, plot matters, but what we get invested in as viewers is the conflict that is being transcribed to us through the story. And with Wheel of Time, there are multiple conflicts, whether it be not trusting the Aes Sedai, or the fact that men can't touch, our magic system here without going insane or destroying the world. And I think it's very interesting that there are different pieces of not just different characters to get behind, which will happen, but also different conflicts to carry about, and what is the major, focus of what is the conflict. Right. So those little pieces, I think they can click with multiple people. I think you have a Harry Potter-esque attraction to where kids could get into this. And there are fantastical elements that are easily digestible. It's not over the top to where you can't understand it. So I think kind of what Matt said, and echoing that PG-13 rating actually does a lot more for the audience that you can reach, like Star Wars.
Yep.
So I could easily see this, even if it isn't the biggest TV show. Let's say, you put up against Lord of the Rings or something like that, or the Middle Earth show, or whatever you want to call it, the Tolkien show. There's place there's enough room at the top now. TV has gotten so big that even if it's in the top 3 shows, that's a massive success.
Yeah.
So I think as Wheel of Time fans, we should be happy.
So quick, I just pulled up the numbers, and these are just instant Google searches. So, if there is a little bit of difference. So there are 57 million people who have access to either HBO or HBO Max as of December 2020. In the US alone, there are 112 million people that have Amazon Prime.
Wow.
That's just the US alone. And again, a lot of people have Amazon Prime, and they don't even know that you can actually watch shows with it. Like, they think, oh, I just have it for shipping. But then they're going to, if we do say get a Super Bowl teaser, I'm still on the camp where I don't think we're going to get a full Super Bowl Wheel of Time trailer. I think we're going to get like an Amazon Prime reel. Like we saw that with Game of Thrones one year, where it's like, hey, check out Amazon Prime, and they're showing you a lot of the different shows like Jack Ryan and Marvelous Miss Maisel, and there'll be a little Wheel of Time and thing in there, and whatever other shows. The Boys, that's another big Amazon. So like, hey, check out Amazon Prime. Here's the shows you can watch. But I do think it'll get a couple seconds and it'll say Wheel of Time. So people are going to be like intrigued, and then you'll have people be like, oh, wait, this is on Amazon. Oh, wow, I can watch this. Like, I don't have to pay. It's not like I have to go get another streaming service in order to watch it.
Yeah, absolutely. And also, like, just coming from what the status of the show or the quality of the show is going to be, I think we can have pretty good confidence. They've handled shows very well at Prime. Man in the High Castle was phenomenal. The Expanse, since it has moved to Prime, has been, even better than before, which was already one of the best shows on television. And I think we can trust that we're going to get a very high quality production.
Yeah. Well, Matt, you actually had I think it was Rosamund Pike, right? Who came out of
a lot of you look at a lot of, I mean, pretty much any interview with anybody from the cast or the crew, they're all saying the exact same thing, where they're saying like the scale of this show, the directors, and they're saying like the scale of the show is like massive. I mean, they're talking like these are huge sets, and even like look at a lot of these people, a lot of these actors, it's like they're going to be no name kind of actors and stuff like that. Then you have somebody like a Rosamund Pike, she was in James Bond. I mean, James Bond movies are they're big deal. Like they're big productions. Now, granted, it was probably the worst or second worst James Bond movie. Oh, here we go. But is what it is. But still, it's a big production, man. Yeah. So for all these people to be saying stuff like that, I mean, you look at all the interviews, they're all saying the same thing. They're like, this is it's a big scale. It's a big that I mean, that should be pretty telling. That
Well,
this is going to be I think it's going to be Game of Thrones level.
Right. And you hear it from so many of them that you realize, okay, there's different levels of experience or whatever, but regardless, they're familiar with the industry and they're saying it's massive and they already kind of know what this is going to do for themselves, and just they understand their role in it, and it seems to be monumental. The money that's invested in it is huge. The concept art, even when we saw some of that, seemed vast, and it seemed like they were really going for it. Like I was surprised with the our abandoned city, Shadar Logoth, and just seeing the scale of some of that. And I thought, well, we're going for it. We're really going for it. So I'm encouraged by all of that. I got to throw out another thing here too. Amazon's they also have the Lord of the Rings show, and
Yes,
if you're so it's Wheel of Time is going to be massive on its own, but now you've got a kind of a companion show that you can alternate back. You can swing people back and forth, keep them subscribed, invested, whatever, at different times throughout the year. I think it's they've got a ridiculously good system and setup here. Like it's
right.
Yeah, the Tolkien show is the most expensive TV show ever.
Yeah.
Already.
Yep.
Yeah.
Well, and keep in mind, this is the other thing is if you think about Amazon kind of, to me, as they're getting into this, and they have been in the content creation game, but really it feels like now with HBO and Disney Plus and everybody's kind of, really is beginning to establish themselves as like, this is going to be us in the content stream, especially with COVID. We're not going to the movie theaters. Like when I think of Amazon, it's like, I don't even have like a first thought, because there's like, they do so many different things. Like when I think of Walt Disney, the first thing I think of is like Mickey Mouse. And like Amazon, if you go and you look at like their history, and like it started out as a book company. So obviously Jeff Bezos, at the end of the day, regardless of if he's trying to compete with like Elon Musk to be the richest man in the world, at his core, he loves books. The company Amazon would not exist if that guy never had any affinity for books.
That's why he went after The Expanse. Yeah.
Yep.
And
now now the shows that he's coming at, he's like, they're what seems like, Lord of the Rings, even Jack Ryan. Those
Man
are
in
books.
the High Castle.
Those are books. Those come from books. And so that's what they're going to be pushing their content, forward.
Yeah. Well, one thing too, that Sir Jimmy said is you were talking about and Matt said it too, PG-13, the rating, comparing it to Star Wars. When you think about the Wheel of Time, and you think about the idea that you could be an Aes Sedai, that you could be a Gleeman, that you could be a warder, a king, a queen. I mean, all these different, like it's just so, I don't know. It is so diverse. It's so vast.
It's personalized.
It's so crazy. There's just so much to connect with, and I can tell from Rafe Judkins, the showrunner, and everyone who's working on the show, that they're trying to make it feel that way. They want everyone to find a home and to find a group, and to really elevate those two aspects. I think it's great. I think awesome.
I think those unique pieces that are personified are very, very important. In Game of Thrones, we had houses that we connected with. I'm House Stark.
Mm-hmm.
I'm Tully. No one was Tully, but for lack of a better example. And then Harry Potter, Sorting Hat, right?
Yes.
People who don't even like Harry Potter,
yes,
or haven't read them all, they know their house.
That's right.
Maybe recently.
Right.
With this, hey, what color Aes Sedai are you?
Yeah, what Aja? Yeah, what Aja are you? Yeah,
so I said, what Aja are you?
Mm-hmm.
So it's just like, I feel like it's personalized enough to where it can really get people invested and connected, who to root for.
Yeah, 100%. So I don't know. I think we're just over here. We're getting warmed up to talk more Wheel of Time, and I'm excited about this. I really am. I think it's going to be huge, and within a year, more and more folks are going to learn about Wheel of Time. And as you do, if you're coming in here and you're learning about Wheel of Time, you're wanting to know more about it. Jimmy also at the Fantasy Network covers some Wheel of Time. So we want to make sure you guys go over there and check him out. We'll put a link in the description. Matt and I, we also run Heroes of the Horn, right? Our podcast is our YouTube channel, but we've got a podcast where it's Matt's kind of first read through the series, and Sir Jimmy as well is kind of, I think where you're at book 5, you said?
Yeah, I'm about halfway through book 5. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm actually kind of taking my time because I want to right now Heroes of the Horn is in Shadow Rising, so I'm waiting for you guys to get caught up so I can read it that way, because it is actually my preferred way of digesting the material, because it's very fun with the dynamic that you guys have there at Heroes, with Ezra, being the more the veteran reader in this case because he's read the series multiple times, and then I'm much more like Matt, where this is my first go around, and it's cool to experience the series in the way that you guys present it, because I don't miss those little details. And it's going to be really cool to go through the series this first time with, without having to do a second read, which I'd probably do anyways. But I'm getting those finer details that are probably going to aid in watching the show. So,
yeah, I like that. I like that. And that's the thing. We try to keep it spoiler free, and we want folks, because really we're realizing that there are a lot of folks who just they don't even know about this series, and they're going to be coming to it. So this is definitely a safe place for you to come in and learn more about it, and kind of, get into the journey. So, wow. All right. And this is the first of several videos that we're doing here. So stick around. Please please subscribe. And remember that the grave is no bar to our call.